Hey, what's up? You're hanging with the Niners Nut on this pretty nice Tuesday afternoon for me, although for others it's in the morning. And hopefully the weather's a lot better by where you're at. But what are we talking about today? Obviously, big win over the Dallas Cowgirls this past weekend in the divisional round of the NFC playoffs. I think I watched the game obviously live. I went back and rewatched it, and then I was watching it a little bit last night, and I don't know why. For some reason, I just felt like the need to keep watching the game over and over. I'm like always looking for things just to kind of go through, I guess, because I feel that it's interesting. Someone said to me some interesting things. They said Brock Purdy, statistical wise, had his worst game Sunday. He was 19 to 29 for 214, no touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked twice. But if that was Brock Purdy's worst game, I'll take that times 10 over, a Skylar Thompson performance 2 weeks ago, going 18 to 45 for over 200 yards, one touchdown, two interceptions in a loss against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Phone's ringing. Thank you all for joining the live feed, by the way. So if that's Brock Purdy's worst performance of the season, we gotta be really happy with that, man. Because again, going back and watching some of the highlights from that game last night and on Sunday after the actual game, you notice a couple of different things that I was explaining to somebody else as we were looking at some of the things he was doing. If you look, go back and watch that rollout pass he threw to Kittle. Obviously, that could be catch of the year, uh, by a tight end. I mean, that broke the game open. That was the backbreaker right there. That third down catch was just huge. And of course, leave it to a phenomenal talent, a phenomenal clutch talent like George Kittle to do it. The whole juggling thing off his helmet. Also, too, Kittle's way of avoiding that hit. I think was it Diggs who almost hit him? I forgot who it was, but he avoided getting hit, which could have broken up that play. But you know that rollout play, it looked like they were trying to get that going early. But there's something about the poise that Purdy has when he rolled out, because obviously that defense, I look for all things, for all serious, um, all serious. The Dallas defense played very good. I was impressed by them a lot. I didn't think that they were going to be as good, but I was impressed by them more over in the first half than I was in the second half. Second half they got winded. Second half they obviously the offensive line, the 49er offensive line, the 49er running game beat the living shit out of them. But the first half, I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence looked really good. He's had a lot of injuries here. That Dorrance Armstrong looked good. Micah Parsons, obviously. So yeah, man, they looked pretty good. They were causing some pressure, especially early on when they were in Purdy's face. They got those two early sacks, but second half, that rollout play. I mean, Purdy really has poise and has confidence and balls in that pocket. And again, it's his footwork. It's so many different things. Like Steve Young couldn't really pinpoint. It's so many things that he does well that make him so good. It's almost like watching a guy who's 23 on paper, but who's been in the league as a veteran for 8 to 10 years. And it's not even so much the fact that he didn't throw a touchdown pass, but he doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't force ball. I think he had one bad pass in that game that was tipped and almost got picked off by, I think it was Diggs in the third quarter, that was intended for Ayuk. Other than that, he really didn't throw a bad pass during that game. So that's another thing. The guy does not hurt you. I've said this before. He doesn't hurt you. He doesn't force things. I like the way he extends plays, hence be that rollout. I like the way it's almost unpredictable. I don't think there's a real hardcore way to prepare against him, because yeah, you can get pressure on him. You could get your hands in his face, try and force him into an interception or whatnot. But I think if you're trying to break his confidence, that's not going to work. If you're going up against a guy who is shaky, hence be Dak Prescott, his confidence was broken after he threw the first pick. I was actually pointing this out to my little 5-year-old nephew who just, loves sports and everything. And I was explaining to him too, I know he's only 5, but I was saying that first interception, that's good. That there's more coming. I'm sure all you guys, you know this for the most, all you guys for the most part, I'm sure know the game or have been watching Prescott for years. Um, it just looked to me early on he was not confident. And again, it's that what Dak Prescott is back there. Is it the one who's confident, going to do what he did against Tampa Bay? Hence, it's the Tampa Bay defense, which an offense that didn't exist when their defense was on the field so much longer, and therefore was just exhausted. Or is it the Dak Prescott we saw last season in the playoffs? This unpredictable, kind of happy feet, panicky guy who makes bad decisions. That's the one we saw. And that's what Dak Prescott is. That's as good as he's going to get. And I don't hate the guy. I think the guy is a decent, good talent. Do I think Dallas overpaid for him? Yeah, that's what Jerry Jones does. He did it to Tony Romo. He did it to him. And it's amazing to me on the commercials how they were like showing the emergence of uh Dallas Cowboy quarterbacks over the years. They went from Roger Staubach to Troy Aikman. I'm like, after that, there really is no great Dallas Cowboy quarterback. Don't put Dak Prescott in there, man, because you're not. So I'm thinking, my personal opinion is Cowboys need to move on from him, which is really going to be hard to do because they've tied into him for a lot of money. But that's on Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, I have a lot of respect for as an owner. I like the way he builds a brand. I like what he did with the stadium. I like the way he made it's similar to what the Yankees do, to what Steinbrenner did. You built the team around the city, or I guess that's the way to say. You made it a product to where you knew what people wanted to see. And of course, like he incorporated, the big stadium and the big scoreboard and the cheerleaders and all that stuff. I give you credit for that. But as an owner, you suck at acquiring talent. You suck at trying to manage a team. I don't know why you'd put everything behind Dak Prescott and pay him. I don't know why you don't have a better backup on that team. I know you got some good play out of the guy this year, but that's not going to work long term. I don't understand Mike McCarthy is what I really should understand. And I don't understand why Jerry Jones didn't fire McCarthy last season. McCarthy's not a bad coach, but let's face it, he inherited for the most part, a Green Bay Packer team from Mike Holmgren. I know there was changes in players and whatnot, but he inherited, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but when you don't sign a backup kicker going into this game, knowing that, Mauer was 0 for 5 coming into Sunday's game, 0 for 6 because of the block. He did get the 2 field goals. When you don't sign a backup kick, that is concerning. You gave the 49ers so much confidence by not going for that field goal on that first drive. That was a momentum build. For going for the, not for not going for it. That's a momentum builder, man. I mean, and you're also showing your kicker you have no trust in him. But I don't know how you don't bring another kicker on the fucking roster and try him out all week, which other teams have done and continue to do. I just don't understand that, But I'm not a fan of his. I'm not a Mike McCarthy fan. I think Dan Quinn's a hell of a defensive coordinator. Done a great job and deserves another head coaching job. He did a pretty good job in Atlanta when he had run as head coach in Atlanta, and I think he definitely deserves to have another shot at because he's done really good things with that defense. Again, I think that's as good as the Cowboys are ever going to get. They've peaked. That's it. It's over. It's all downhill from here. It was unfortunate Pollard broke his leg. Zeke, I think, is willing to take a pay cut, I read now. He's on this, it's not his style. His style to crash and boom and bang doesn't work anymore, especially with the tenacity of the hits he's taken, especially in the fact that he's lost weight and trying to become more of a left to right, but that's Pollard's game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. In my opinion, their two best players on offense are CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz, again, I think I've said this over and over, reminds me of Jay Novacek, a throwback who was an ultimate weapon during the Cowboy heydays for Troy Aikman and Jimmy Johnson and that Cowboy offense. CD's a great wide receiver, man, for sure. And again, he's going to get his catches. But much like DK Metcalf and much like these other wide receivers that we play against, my hat off to the Niner defense again because we don't give up any yards after the catch, hardly. Okay, and that's a real important stat. So, I think going into Sunday's game, we were all confident after what we saw last year. We knew. I didn't expect it to be that close of a game. I wasn't really nervous. I was kind of concerned early on, but I knew we adjust well in the second half. That's one good thing about this team is they adjust, especially the defense, I think. And early on, like I said, Purdy had a little bit of a rough time. Defense was some good defense. Good defense was in his face. And they did a good job of shutting down the run early. But again, that's only a limited amount of time before we break things open with the various weapons we have. And don't mind me if I take a supplement here. Little magnesium. That being said, our defense again, it just showed us again why they're such a great unit. We didn't give up shit. Go look at the running yards, and we'll get to stats eventually today. We didn't give up anything on the ground. I know we gave up that touchdown run to Dak. It was a good called play. But other than that, on the ground, Pollard and Zeke didn't do anything. And that's when we're at our best, when we stump runners. Something we're going to have to do again this Sunday with Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, Gainwell, and Boston Scott. But we'll get to that eventually. But just going over this game Sunday, again, it was a magnificent performance, I thought. It was a good performance for us because I think if we got to see Purdy's worst game per se, okay, great. We also got to see another great performance from the defense. Another feather in the cap of Fred Warner. That play where he guarded CeeDee Lamb downfield and just, guy's a freak show, man. The talent level in linebackers has changed so much. I don't know many linebackers that can cover wide receivers like that. That's really scary. But again, everybody on that defense stepped up. I mean, Lenore made that huge interception. Jimmy Ward came up big again. Talanoa Hufnagel, I thought he was going to crush Dak Prescott on that play, but he did enough to break it up. I got a kick out of Ariki Armstead colliding with Dak Prescott on that rollout in the end zone. I thought Dak Prescott was dead, but it did end up breaking up the play. So again, the hat off to D'Amico Ryans. I really hope we don't lose him. I mean, I could understand 100% if we did because it's well-deserving him, but I just want him back, much like I did with Robert Saleh. But it would be well-deserving because he's got this defense playing at another level. Dre Greenlaw. Love the guy. Talent is through the roof, but we need to stop with these stupid penalties. We need to stop with these dumb penalties. Can't have that Sunday, especially against a guy like Hurst, who's going to try and scramble. Hopefully, we can contain that, but he's going to slide. I know it's hard to pull up, but we can't have those type of penalties. On penalty note, we did only have 3, which is another great thing compared to Dallas's 7. So Dallas fucks themselves every year. It never amazes me. I'm always waiting for them to fuck up. They're like court jesters. Thank you for being on the live feed. Always, shoot me your comments on whatever you want. I'm always down, always interested to hear your guys' feedback as well. But, again, this was a hard-fought game, and I think we needed to have one like this because in preparation for who we're going to be facing Sunday. And, now it's an ultimate test. We got to go on the road to where it's cold, obviously, or going to be cold. But I don't think that's really going to matter because San Francisco, the weather can go either way sometimes. Against a team, I want to say that, in my opinion, is a very well-talented team, but I think they're suspect, the Eagles. They haven't played anybody, really. Go back and look at their schedule. I mean, they lost to the Cowboys. They beat the Cowboys. They beat the Giants. They beat the Washington Commanders. Again, we've beaten them. We've beaten Seattle 3 times. We've beaten Seattle in the playoffs. We've beaten Miami. I think we're a better football team. I think the stats back us up as a team. Obviously, their defense has had a monster year in terms of sacks. I think they have 4 double-digit guys in sacks, and I think it's Hargrove is 1. The other one is Sweat. The other one is Graham, and I believe Hassan Riddick. The great defensive tackle Fletcher Cox has 7. And, of course, they have That defensive back, is it Roby Coleman has 6 picks. Darius Slay has 3. Their defense is good. But I tell you this much, I think the Dallas defense played a little bit on par with that Eagle defense. I think our defense is better than both of them. Offensively speaking, yeah, Hurts, what do you have, over 607 yards, 700 yards on the ground. He threw for over 3,022 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. They have the dual threat in wide receiver and A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Dallas Goeder's nothing to take your eyes away from. But again, I think we're a better team than they are. I think we're more well-seasoned. We have been together longer, and I think we have a better coach in Shanny. And again, I'll say hat off to Shanny. I think he's coached his best football this year. I don't know what he was waiting for, though, on that segment towards, I think it was at the end of the first half of this past week. He let some time run off the clock again. Could have stopped it earlier. I know we ended up getting the field goal at the end, but still. 2 weeks in a row, and to be objective, he's done 2 things I didn't like. He did the pooch kickoff against Seattle, in which Jimmy Ward ended up having the late hit on Geno Smith, which allowed them to get into field goal range to get a field goal and go up 17-16, and then this week kind of burning a lot of time on that timeout. Just can't let Hurts scramble on us. Yeah, that's a really good point. I've had that in my mind for a bit, because I think Hurts is a very talented guy. I don't know how good of a quarterback he is in all terms of the word quarterback. Who has he played really other than that Dallas defense? And that Dallas has beaten them, okay? But there are times when he can get rattled, and I think this week it's going to be a little different for him. Is he going to get his yards on the ground? I would like to say no, but I think he's going to get a little something, because we know that the Niner defense, the linebackers primarily don't always blitz. You don't always have a blitzing Talanoa Huffanega. So if they sit back, in which they most likely will in order to guard Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and A.J. Brown, yeah, Hurts could possibly get some of those yards. But I think that defensive front does a good enough job of generating pressure that they can contain him. And that's the important thing. I think with Hurts having the sore shoulder, what you want to do is push him back into that pocket and have him have to play the quarterback role. At the same time, we've got to do what we've done the first 2 weeks and shut down the Eagles' running game. And again, they have Sanders, Gainwell, Scott, and Hurts for that matter. So that's going to be an interesting thing for us to do. But we do that rather well when we shut down the running game of the opposing team. And I'd rather gamble with Hurts having to throw the ball than him running the ball, or doing both and kicking the shit out of us, because that's just not going to work. So they've got to get after him, get pressure in his face, hands up, force turnovers. Going to be interesting to see what Shavarius Ward does. Obviously he's got his hands full. So does Diamador. Can't get the word out. Diamador Lenore having to guard one of those 2 good wide receivers. I think A.J. Brown is the better receiver out of both of them. We don't really have a good history against him. If you remember last year's loss toward the end of the season against the Tennessee Titans, A.J. Brown lit us up. But that was a different season and a different team, obviously, to some extent. But look, is it going to be easy? No, but I see this game going one of 2 ways. I see it being a very tight game like Sunday, or I see us beating the shit out of them. I can't see us getting blown out at all. The worst thing I think would be obviously a loss, be a 2-year loss in the NFC Championship game, which would show something isn't pushing us over the edge. But at the same time, you're also facing a pretty good team. But again, I think that I can't see that happening, and not just because I'm biased, but I can see us spanking the shit out of them too. Forcing Hurts into an early pick, getting that turnover, using it to generate points. The defense goes back on the defensive, shuts down their offense. You get the ball back. I think the point generation is going to be important too, as well as the defense. Purdy is awesome, and I dig him. He does look for the big play too much and passes on the short outlets Kyle sets up for him. Yeah, I see. I'm a little in the middle because I see sometimes. Obviously, we know Shanahan's offense can be primarily conservative, and we were seeing Purdy, not play within those conservative walls. I think at times. Sunday, I will agree with you. I thought he was going for the big play too early. I even felt that way last Saturday rather, against the Seahawks. I felt like, why is he trying to win it in one play? Let's just do this, and get it done. But I think against the Cowboys, it was a little more that you were playing against a good defense that was generating some pressure, as they were. So we have to allow for that again Sunday. What I think has to happen, obviously, is we have to run the fucking ball down this team's throat from early on. Now, I think we're going to have a similar situation Sunday, given that, they have a pretty good defensive front. Like I said, Hargrove, Graham, Hassan Reddick, the Jordan Davis rookie, who I think has a lot of upside there. He's a big guy. Fletcher Cox, who's a great veteran. We've got to really generate positive running yards. I think one thing we'll see more of is Mitchell getting involved early. And again, he led the team in rushing Sunday. I know this injury that he has, the groin, and the other injury to McCaffrey with the calf. They're nothing major. They're gonna play with them. They've been nagged by them, but we need to ground and pound a lot more. I think that's where we're at our best. And I'd like to see more short routes to Kittle. I'd like to see the screens don't seem to be working as much. Defenses are the corners seem to be a little too fast for that. The one screen to Deebo that was broken up by DeMarcus Lawrence when he tackled him by the ankle was just a really good play. Excuse me. That's one thing that I can't put on the offense or the players. That the defense on Sunday for the Cowboys made some really good plays. So I'm hoping that we're able to come up with some other interesting stuff. Get Mitchell in there a little earlier. Utilize him a little more. Utilize Juice some more. Juice had a nice play to help us get closer to the goal line on Sunday. Get those blocking packages in there. And again, as valuable as Kittle is as a blocker, that's how valuable he is as an entity in the middle of the field looking for the ball. Whether his route running and his hands. That's how valuable he is. I would like to see him be utilized more Sunday, because I think it's going to come up really big. Another thing, too, is I think that we have to keep the ball away from that Philadelphia offense. One thing I really liked was on the drive where we scored the only touchdown of the game Sunday with McCaffrey, we held the ball for 7 minutes, and it was a real positive drive. Thank God we were able to get that big catch by Kittle. We were able to get the penalty. I forgot who it was on the Cowboys, but it helped extend that drive. So that's what we need to have again. I mean, look, I'll settle for 3 points every time. Robbie Gould, hat off to him for being on the money. But unless you can contain a team like the Eagles offense to 3 points or to punt, you're going to have to put some points on the board, unless it's just an extremely tight game on both sides of the ball. But, we got to be prepared that, this team's going to be fired up playing at home. But again, I think experience is going to weigh a lot here. And this 49er team is experienced. Just look at the roster for the guys who were there in 2019, and that's going to be an interesting aspect to everything for the most part. Let me just shut the door here. Hold on. Just, yeah, I think that, again, the experience is on our side when you've got guys on the roster who've been there before, like Kittle and Bosa, and obviously Shanny, Garoppolo. I know McCaffrey hasn't been that, there before, but he's a veteran who's been in the league for a bit. Juice, obviously, Ayuk, Debo, Fred Warner, Dregreenlaw, and then Jimmy Ward, and so on and so forth, Robbie Gould. So that's on our side. Okay. I'm not really worried about going to play on the road because I think we're a damn good road team and we play really good under pressure. And that's one thing, again, my hat off to Shanahan, my hat off to Purdy. Under pressure, that's where you see so many quarterbacks, especially that make or break. And I can only think of guys like Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, obviously the greats, Montana Young. You know, um, I think it's really important when we see quarterbacks that operate so well under pressure and ones that don't. Hence, beat Dak Prescott on Sunday. So far, what I'm seeing is Purdy is really good under pressure. I like that he's not too big to throw the ball away. I like that he tries to get something a little bit with his feet. He puts the ball where it has to be. And then at times he takes chances going deep, but he doesn't really hurt you. And I think that's really important. So, he's at playing at a level right now that I think most veterans aspire to play to. And it's really rare that we see young guys do what he's doing. So I'm interested to see if Jimmy G will be back for this one, if he'll be on the sidelines. I know there's been talk that obviously he could be in uniform, but Brock Purdy is the man you got to go with 100%. But I'm just curious to know if he'll be back. Um, but I also see that the Niner fans are already taking over Philadelphia. There's a really cool video online already where you can see them kind of dressing up the Rocky statue. So it's the best fan base in football, if you ask me, in terms of San Francisco. Um, but I can't wait to see how we fare there in terms of fans, because that's a tough crowd in Philly. Didn't they beat the shit out of Santa Claus one year? Um, so that's going to be interesting enough. But let's just look at some stats from Sunday. Just going back over the game stats. I'm I'm a stats guy. Although it's not everything, but it is important, especially when breaking things down. Dak was 23 at 37 for 206 yards, one pick, two interceptions, only sacked once, but a lot of uneasiness for Dak. He just didn't look comfortable a lot of the time. He looked very uncomfortable. And like I said before, on the ground, Zeke had 26, Prescott had 22, and Pollard had 22. I take it back. It wasn't Prescott who scored the touchdown on the ground. I don't know why I thought that. He helped extend the drive and get closer to the goal line when he scrambled. So they didn't get anything on the ground. And then through the air, CD 10 for 117, but only averaging 11.7 yards. Schultz 5 for 27. He did have the touchdown. Noah Brown 2 for 21. And T.Y. Hilton had one catch for the 15 yards, which I believe was in the first quarter. Other than that, our defense kept them in check. Deron Bland and Leighton Vander Esch had a very good game, had 11 tackles apiece. They got a sack from DeMarcus Lawrence, a sack from Odigijwa. Tackle for losses from DeMarcus Lawrence again, a veteran who's been nicked by injuries the last 2 seasons, came up huge for them. So no interceptions. That Cavante Turpin, man, four returns, 120 yards. That guy's got afterburners. I got worried with that kickoff return with him, man. I thought that was going to be scary for a second. Purdy was 19 to 29 for 199. I'm sorry, let me just slide this over. For 214, no picks, no touchdowns. Elijah Mitchell led the Niners in rushing on 51 yards on 14 carries. McCaffrey 35 for 10. Hard-fought yards for McCaffrey always. He was starting to help break down that defensive line towards the end. GK 5 for 95. Again, the big third down catch. Debo 4 for 45. Jennings 2 for 26. Aiyuk 2 for 26. McCaffrey 6 for 22. Although it didn't feel like he caught that many passes. Ray, the fumble. We only lost 3 points from there, but still, it happens. He did make up for it on that next kick return, which he brought out and did, got a nice big chunk of yards. Fred Warner led the way with 9 tackles. Ward had 7. Al Shahir had 7. Jimmy Ward also had 2 passes defended. We did get sacks, I should say, from Ebukam, or just 1 sack. For some reason, I thought it was more. I don't know why. Javarius Ward had a really good game. Dregreenlaw all but that penalty, a good game. Diamandola came up big. Hufnega, Armstead all played well. Pick from Warner, the pick from Lenore. Ray, the one kick return for 53 yards was huge. Obviously, Robbie Gould, 4 for 4. Mitch Wisnowski, 4 punts, 164, 2 inside the 20. He had one bad punt, which you rarely see from him. But that's those are the team stats in a nutshell. And again, a lot of stuff going our way there. And we can only hope to just kind of repeat that pattern again this Sunday, because it's again. I think other than the running game from the quarterback, they're a very similar team. Uh, and just move this here. Looking at the team stats, we beat them in first downs 21-15. On third down, we were 7 of 14, 50% to their 5 for 15. Total plays, we had them 63-60. Total yards, our 312 to their 282. Very similar in yards per play. They had 7 more yards passing than us as a team. Okay, and running the ball again, I think, was the difference. Our 113 to their 76. When we run the ball well, we win. When we shut down the run, we win. Penalties, their 7 to our 3. And possession, our 32 minutes to their 27, which is always interesting. Time possession means a lot. So let's break down Sunday's game, or at least look through it. You got to get some pressure on Hurts. You got to shut down their running game. You got to contain their wide receivers. Can't take your eyes off Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully Hurts is limited Sunday with his shoulder. Their offensive line is playing good, but I don't think they're playing anywhere as near as good as we are. Their offense, they kind of remind me a little bit of the Baltimore Ravens, the way they run things. And then, of course, on the defensive side of the ball, like I said, they got 4 guys with double-digit sacks. But I don't see that happening on Sunday. This is a much better and well-seasoned offensive line they're playing against. They're going to have their hands full trying to stop all of our weapons. They really are. And we've got to really get them going early. And I think experience, again, is on our side in terms of coaching. But if I was to guess, like I said, I see it going one of two ways. I see us routing them, or I see it being really close. I don't see us losing this game. I think we're too good of a team to lose. I think we're a much better team than we were in 2019 when we made the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. On the Chiefs note, I'd love to see the Bengals knock off the Chiefs. I think it's really possible. But there'd be nothing better to just march across the country to Philadelphia and knock off this fucking team who hasn't really played anybody great. I mean, think about it. They haven't played Buffalo, okay? They haven't played Cincinnati. They haven't played us. Let's face it. So while I'm not trying to negate them 100%, I don't think they've played a lot of monster talent. They split to the Cowboys. They beat the Eagles. So I am not 100% sold on them. I think they're suspect. So that's just my take on them. And you know what? If you look back at that Giant game that they won when they beat the Giants on Sunday, Giants were in a good place until the Bowl went for it on 4th down, which I think changed the momentum of the game and gave the Eagles a lot more confidence than they had. Because going into that game, the Giants were playing on a really high rate, well coached, but you see how things happen, man. That one possession can mean so much. But again, I feel good about Sunday, man. I really do. One other subject we'll get to is Skip Dickless, Skip Clueless. I had to have my little rant right after the game. Had to go at him. I hope all you did too. He's an idiot. He's a prick. He doesn't deserve a platform. He deserves to eat shit after his stupid predictions. And now he's jumping onto the Eagle bandwagon, of course, as most brainless, talentless journalists do. He wasn't even man enough to come out and acknowledge how much better we were than them. Obviously, he just tried to cover that up by just saying, and now they're going to lose to the Eagles. I'm still curious to know how he feels about Pollard and McCaffrey's performances on Sunday. Someone here said that Pollard outplayed McCaffrey on Sunday. Last time I checked, McCaffrey scored a touchdown, which in my book means that you outplayed the opponent. But he still hasn't answered for that. He hasn't answered for him wanting to have Dak Prescott over Brock Purdy. How'd that work out for you? Last I checked, the veteran threw 2 interceptions and not Brock Purdy. So all these things I can keep going on about, but I'm not gonna, talk about Skip Fuckface anymore because that's exactly what he is. But hey, man, great win. We're gonna get another one this Sunday. This team is just too damn good. They're too damn good to lose, the 49ers. I can't see it happening at all. Everything's going right. I think Cincinnati's going to beat Kansas City because they have their number and have beaten them last year in the AFC Championship, this year in the regular season, and I think we should roll them. So it'll be interesting to see how good Mahomes does with that banged-up ankle. Hat off to the Jaguars, man. They're coming. But listen, red and gold going to do it again this Sunday, man, for sure. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, always feel free to message me. Subscribe to the channel, Niner Podcast. I really appreciate you guys for all, watching and for being part of the live broadcast. Thank you so much. So feel free to hit me up at any time, all right? Niner Nut is out. Have a good one.